Maria had been running her small restaurant for 12 years, and she thought she had seen everything until the morning a little girl walked in alone asking if there was any food. The child looked about 7 years old, wearing a stained dress and shoes that didn't match, her hair tangled and her face smudged with dirt. Maria's first instinct was to find the parents, but the girl said she didn't have any, and Maria felt her heart break a little. She brought the child to the kitchen and sat her down at the prep table, then went to make her a simple sandwich. The girl watched everything Maria did with an intensity that seemed unusual for someone so young. When Maria handed her the plate, the girl looked at it for a long moment, then asked if she could help make something instead of just eating. Maria was surprised, but she saw no harm in it, so she said sure, and asked what the girl wanted to make. The child pointed to a bowl of tomatoes on the counter and said she could make something good with those. Maria smiled and told her to go ahead, expecting the girl to maybe squash them or make a mess, something normal for a child. But what happened next made Maria freeze. The girl picked up a tomato and held it in her small hands and closed her eyes. Within seconds, the tomato began to change. Its color deepened into a rich red that Maria had never seen before. The skin became perfect and smooth, and when the girl set it down and picked up a knife, Maria tried to stop her, but the child's hands moved with a precision that didn't match her age. She sliced the tomato, and the smell that filled the kitchen was incredible, like summer and earth and something Maria couldn't name. The girl reached for olive oil and salt and a few basil leaves, and she arranged everything on a plate in a way that looked simple but somehow perfect. Maria stared at the dish, and then at the girl who looked up at her with eyes that seemed older than they should be. Maria picked up a fork and tasted it, and the flavor exploded in her mouth. It wasn't just good, it was transcendent, the kind of taste that made her want to cry. She had been cooking her whole life, and she had never made anything like this. Maria asked the girl what her name was, and the child said Emma. Maria asked how she did that, and Emma just shrugged and said she didn't know. She could just always do it. Maria didn't know what to think. Part of her wanted to call someone, social services maybe, to help this child who was clearly alone and possibly in danger. But another part of her, the part that lived and breathed cooking, was fascinated. She asked Emma if she was hungry, and Emma nodded. Maria made her a proper meal and watched as Emma ate slowly, savoring every bite. When Emma finished, Maria asked if she had anywhere to go, and Emma shook her head. Maria made a decision that would change everything. She told Emma she could stay for a while, at least until they figured things out. Emma smiled for the first time, and it was like watching the sun come out. Over the next few days, Maria learned more about Emma's ability. The girl could take any ingredient, no matter how simple or how poor its quality, and transform it into something extraordinary. Wilted lettuce became crisp and vibrant under her touch. Cheap cuts of meat became tender and flavorful. Day-old bread turned into something that tasted like it had just come out of the oven. Emma didn't just cook. She elevated everything she touched. Maria's restaurant had been struggling for months. The neighborhood was changing, and new places were opening up with celebrity chefs and investors, and Maria couldn't compete. She had been thinking about closing down, about giving up the dream she had worked so hard for. But now, with Emma's help, the food they served became unlike anything else in the city. Maria started putting Emma's dishes on the menu, not telling anyone how they were made, just serving them and watching as customers reacted with shock and delight. Word spread quickly. Within a week, the restaurant was packed every night. Food critics came and left rave reviews. People waited hours for a table. Maria's phone rang constantly with reservation requests and interview offers. The money started coming in, and for the first time in years, Maria could breathe easy. But she felt guilty too. Emma was a child who should be in school and playing with friends, not working in a kitchen. Maria tried to make it fun, letting Emma choose what to cook and taking breaks to play games or watch cartoons. Emma seemed happy, but Maria worried. She still hadn't called social services. She told herself it was because Emma was better off here than in the system, but deep down she knew it was also because she needed Emma. The restaurant needed her. One evening, a man came into the restaurant and asked to speak with the chef. Maria went out to meet him, and he introduced himself as David Chen, a food journalist working on a story about the city's culinary renaissance. He said he had heard incredible things about her restaurant and wanted to know her secret. Maria's stomach dropped. She gave him vague answers about fresh ingredients and traditional techniques. but David didn't look convinced. He asked if he could watch her cook, and Maria said no, they were too busy. David smiled and said he understood, but Maria could see the curiosity in his eyes. After he left, Maria felt anxious. She found Emma in the kitchen preparing vegetables, and she knelt down beside her. She asked Emma if she understood that what she could do was special, maybe too special for other people to know about. Emma nodded seriously and said she knew. She said her mother had told her to never show anyone before she left. Maria asked what happened to Emma's mother, and Emma's face went sad. She said her mother got sick and had to go away, and told Emma to hide her gift because people would want to use her. Maria felt tears in her eyes. She pulled Emma into a hug and promised she would protect her. But protecting Emma became harder as the restaurant's fame grew. More journalists came asking questions. Food bloggers tried to sneak into the kitchen. Competitors sent spies to figure out what made Maria's food so special. Maria hired more staff and tried to keep Emma hidden, but it was difficult. Emma wanted to help with everything, and keeping her in the back room felt wrong. Then one night, everything fell apart. A woman came to the restaurant, and when Maria greeted her, the woman's face went pale. She grabbed Maria's arm and asked where she got the child in the kitchen. Maria's blood ran cold. She asked what the woman meant, and the woman said she had seen a little girl through the kitchen window, and that girl looked exactly like her niece who had gone missing 6 months ago. Maria tried to stay calm. She said the woman must be mistaken, that the girl was her daughter, but the woman didn't believe her. She said she was calling the police. Maria's mind raced. She went back to the kitchen and found Emma and told her they needed to talk. Emma looked scared and asked if she had to leave. Maria didn't know what to say. Before she could answer, the police arrived. 2 officers came in and asked to speak with Maria and the child. Maria brought Emma out, and one of the officers knelt down and asked Emma her name. Emma looked at Maria and then said her name was Emma Reeves. The officer asked if she knew Sarah Mitchell, and Emma's face crumpled. She said that was her aunt. The aunt started crying and tried to hug Emma, but Emma pulled away. The officer asked Emma what happened and where she had been. Emma said her mother died and she didn't want to go with her aunt because her aunt was mean and didn't understand about her gift. She said she ran away and had been living on the streets until she found Maria. The aunt protested, saying she had been looking everywhere and that Emma belonged with family. The officers looked at Maria and asked why she hadn't reported finding a missing child. Maria had no good answer. She said she was going to, but wanted to make sure Emma was safe first. The officers didn't look happy. They said they had to take Emma into custody until they could sort everything out. Emma started crying and begged Maria not to let them take her. Maria felt her heart breaking, but what could she do? She promised Emma she would figure something out and then watched as they led the little girl away. The restaurant felt empty after that. Maria tried to keep cooking, but nothing tasted right anymore. The customers noticed. The reviews turned critical. People stopped coming. Within 2 weeks, Maria was back where she started, struggling to keep the doors open. But worse than the business failing was the hollow feeling inside her. She had grown to love Emma in those brief weeks they had together. She missed the girl's quiet presence in the kitchen, her serious concentration when she worked with food, the way she smiled when something turned out perfectly. Maria decided she had to do something. She hired a lawyer and filed for emergency custody of Emma. She gathered character witnesses and financial statements and proof that she could provide a stable home. The aunt fought back, arguing that blood mattered more than anything. The case went to family court, and Maria sat in the courtroom feeling sick with worry. Emma was brought in, and the judge asked her what she wanted. Emma looked small in the big courtroom, but her voice was steady when she said she wanted to stay with Maria. She said Maria was kind and understood her and made her feel safe. The aunt stood up and said Emma didn't know what was best for her, that she was just a child. The judge asked Emma to explain why she ran away in the first place. Emma hesitated and then said her aunt wanted to use her ability to make money. She said after her mother died, her aunt found out what Emma could do and said they would be rich. She said her aunt didn't care about her, just about what she could do. The aunt's face turned red, and she denied it, but the judge looked skeptical. The judge asked Emma to demonstrate this ability she kept mentioning. Emma looked at Maria, and Maria nodded. An officer brought Emma a simple apple from the court cafeteria. Emma held it in her hands and closed her eyes, and the apple began to change. It became perfect, the color deepening, the shape becoming ideal, and when Emma handed it to the judge, Everyone in the courtroom could smell its incredible fragrance. The judge took a bite, and his eyes widened. He chewed slowly and then looked at Emma with something like wonder. He asked how she did that, and Emma said she didn't know, she just could. The courtroom was silent. The judge set down the apple and thought for a long time. Then he said he was granting temporary custody to Maria with the condition that Emma attend regular therapy in school. He said the aunt could have supervised visitation rights, but Emma would live with Maria. Emma ran to Maria and threw her arms around her, and Maria held her tight and cried. They went home together that day, and Maria made Emma her favorite dinner. As they ate, Maria asked Emma what she wanted for her future. Emma said she wanted to cook with Maria, but also wanted to go to school and have friends and be normal sometimes. Maria promised they would make it work. She enrolled Emma in school and hired a tutor to help her catch up. She made sure Emma had time to play and be a kid. But in the evenings, Emma still came to the kitchen and they cooked together. Maria taught Emma traditional techniques, and Emma showed Maria things about food that Maria had never imagined possible. They became partners in a way that went beyond just cooking. The restaurant survived, but Maria kept it smaller now, more intimate. She didn't advertise Emma's ability or try to capitalize on it. Instead, she let Emma cook when she wanted to, and the food spoke for itself. People came for the experience and the quality, and they left satisfied. Food critics still wrote about the restaurant, but Maria no longer cared about fame. She had something better. One evening, about 6 months after Emma came to live with her, Maria was closing up the restaurant when Emma came and sat beside her. Emma asked if Maria ever regretted taking her in, if all the trouble had been worth it. Maria looked at this child who had changed her life completely and smiled. She said that before Emma she had been going through the motions, cooking because it was what she knew, but not because it brought her joy anymore. She said Emma had reminded her why she fell in love with food in the first place, not because of awards or recognition, but because of the simple magic of creating something that brings people happiness. She said Emma had given her more than Emma could ever know. Emma leaned against her and said Maria had saved her too. They sat together in the quiet kitchen, and Maria thought about how strange life was, how a random act of kindness to a hungry child had led to all of this. She had almost lost everything trying to protect Emma, but she had also gained something she never expected, a daughter and a purpose that went beyond just surviving. The restaurant continued, and Emma grew. Her ability never faded, but she learned to control it better, to understand it more. She became interested in the science of cooking, in how flavors work together, in the chemistry of ingredients. Maria encouraged her curiosity, and they experimented together, sometimes succeeding spectacularly, and sometimes failing in ways that left them laughing and covered in flour. Emma made friends at school and brought them home to try new dishes. She joined the school cooking club and helped organize bake sales. She was still special, but she was also just a kid, and Maria made sure she never forgot that. There were still challenges. The aunt tried twice more to get custody, but the judge denied her both times. Food critics occasionally asked uncomfortable questions about consistency and how Maria achieved certain results. Competitors whispered that Maria must be using some kind of additive or chemical enhancement. Maria ignored them all. She focused on Emma and the restaurant and building the life they both wanted. Years passed, and Emma became a teenager and then a young woman. Her ability matured with her, and she began to understand it in ways she never had before. She explained to Maria that it wasn't really magic. It was more like she could sense the potential in every ingredient and help it reach that potential. She said every tomato wanted to be the perfect tomato, and she just helped it get there. Maria didn't fully understand, but she accepted it. On Emma's 18th birthday, Maria threw a party at the restaurant. All of Emma's friends came, and so did loyal customers, and even some of the staff from the courthouse who remembered the case. Maria gave a toast and said she had never imagined that a little girl walking into her kitchen would become her daughter and her best friend. She said Emma had taught her that the best recipes weren't written down, they were felt in the heart. Emma cried and hugged her and said that Maria had given her a home when she had nothing. She said she would never forget that kindness. Later that night, after everyone left, Emma told Maria she had been accepted to a culinary institute in France. Maria felt pride and sadness at the same time. She knew Emma needed to go, to learn and grow and become her own person, but she would miss her terribly. Emma seemed to sense her thoughts and said she would come back. She said this restaurant was her home, and Maria was her family, and nothing would change that. Maria believed her. Emma left for France in the fall, and the restaurant felt quiet again, but not empty like before. Maria had memories now, and hope for the future. Emma called every week and sent pictures of her classes and the food she was creating. She was learning classical techniques and molecular gastronomy and everything in between. She was thriving. Maria was proud. Emma returned after 2 years with new skills and new ideas. Together, they renovated the restaurant, keeping its heart, but updating its approach. They created a menu that honored tradition while pushing boundaries. They hired young chefs who were passionate and talented. They made the restaurant into something bigger than either of them alone could have achieved. Food journalists wrote articles about their partnership, about the mysterious quality of their dishes, about the way a meal at their restaurant felt like coming home. Maria always smiled when she read them, but she never explained the truth. Some mysteries were worth keeping. One evening, an older woman came to the restaurant and asked to speak with Maria. Maria went to her table, and the woman introduced herself as Emma's aunt. Maria tensed, but the aunt raised her hand and said she wasn't there to cause trouble. She said she wanted to apologize. She said losing her sister, and then Emma had made her desperate and she had handled everything wrong. She said she could see now that Emma was exactly where she belonged. Maria didn't know what to say. Emma came out of the kitchen and saw her aunt and stopped. The two women looked at each other across the dining room. Then Emma walked over and sat down. She asked her aunt why she was really there. The aunt said she was dying and wanted to make peace before she went. She said she knew she had been selfish and had tried to use Emma, and she was sorry. Emma was quiet for a long time. Then she asked Maria to bring some food. Maria went to the kitchen and prepared a simple meal, one of Emma's favorites from when she was young. She brought it out and set it in front of the aunt. The aunt took a bite and tears ran down her face. She said it was beautiful and that Emma's mother would have been so proud. Emma reached across the table and took her aunt's hand. She said she forgave her. The aunt cried harder and thanked her, and Maria stood back, watching and feeling something shift in the universe. The aunt died 3 months later, and Emma went to the funeral. When she came back, she told Maria she was glad she had made peace. She said holding on to anger would have poisoned everything good in her life. Maria agreed. The restaurant continued to thrive, and Emma and Maria worked side by side, creating food that touched people's souls. They never advertised Emma's gift, and most people who ate there had no idea about the truth behind the incredible flavors. They just knew the food made them feel something, made them remember why eating was about more than just fuel. It was about connection and love, and the simple human need to gather around a table together. Maria grew older, and her hands weren't as steady as they once were, but she still came to the kitchen every day. Emma took on more responsibility, but she never pushed Maria aside. They were a team, and that would never change. One quiet afternoon, Maria and Emma sat in the empty restaurant drinking coffee, and Emma asked Maria if she had any regrets. Maria thought about it and said she regretted not finding Emma sooner, that the girl had spent time alone and scared on the streets. But Emma shook her head and said everything happened exactly as it should. She said if Maria had found her any earlier or any later, things might have been different. She said their timing was perfect. Maria smiled and said maybe Emma was right. They sat in comfortable silence, and Maria felt grateful for every moment, every struggle, every triumph. She had started with nothing but a failing restaurant and a lonely existence, and now she had family and purpose and joy. Emma had given her all of that, and in return, Maria had given Emma safety and love and a place to belong. It was the best trade either of them could have asked for. The sun set outside, and the restaurant began to glow with warm light. Soon customers would arrive and the kitchen would come alive with heat and sound, and the intoxicating smell of cooking food. Maria and Emma would work together, creating dishes that people would remember long after they left. They would laugh and argue and dance around each other in the familiar rhythm of two people who knew each other completely. And when the night ended and the last customer left, they would sit together again and talk about the next day and the next dish, and the endless possibilities that came with every new ingredient. Because that was the real magic. Not Emma's ability to transform food, but the way two people had found each other and built something beautiful together. Maria had thought the girl just wanted food, but what Emma really needed was someone to see her as more than her gift. And what Maria needed was someone to remind her that cooking was an act of love. They had given each other exactly what they needed, and in doing so they had created something that would last long after they were both gone. The restaurant would survive because it was built on more than just talent or skill. It was built on heart, and that was something that never went out of style. As they prepared for the evening service, Emma turned to Maria and said thank you. Maria asked what for, and Emma said for everything, for taking a chance on a strange little girl, for fighting for her, for loving her. Maria felt her eyes fill with tears, and she pulled Emma close and said she should be the one saying thank you. They held each other in the warm kitchen, surrounded by the tools of their trade and the ghosts of 1,000 meals. And Maria thought that if she could go back to that morning 12 years ago, she would do everything exactly the same. She would open her door to the hungry child, and she would let that child change her life completely. Because some gifts come in unexpected packages, and the best decisions are the ones made with the heart rather than the head. The evening rush started, and they moved apart, each to their station. But the connection between them remained. It always would. That was the real secret ingredient in everything they made.